Yeah. Welcome everyone to a Mere Mortals musing session. It is your two favourite Mere Mortals. It's Kyron here.
Juan in the other corner.
And a musing session is where we have a deep conversation with a light-hearted touch. We pick a theme and then we go deep down into it.
Mm-hmm.
Today was my choice. And we're going to be discussing something for nothing. Is
something for nothing.
it possible to... Is the concept of free things useful? Is free never free? Can you operate in this world with only getting free stuff? Is it something that you look for? What do you think about the word free? And we're talking about not liberty here, but free, gratis, like in Spanish. So where to start off with this one? Do you have a good starting point? Otherwise, I'll just go with like a random thing that I've written down.
The first thing when you mentioned this one for me was free, and I was just trying to classify it in my mind around is it free in the nature of like nature in itself? So, you know, it's free that you can walk outside and be near a tree. Is that free? Or would you encapsulate it in like, well, it's kind of not free because you need to have the money to get to where the tree is, or you need to have the investment to be able to be there? I kind of consider that as, okay, that's free. That's free as in like tree or nature. That seems to me as free. So I'm gonna say like that's what I would term as that. But if someone wants to go down the path of no, it's not free because we need to, you know, put money into it to invest in it, so it's there
to
for
grow
the
the
longer
tree.
term.
Yeah,
I'd probably say no. I don't think that's what the intent is here. Would that be correct?
Yeah. So when I came up with this topic, it was because I was chatting with Adam Curry, and we were talking about some of the core tenets of the value for value model, and one which I have heard from him, and then was also something I investigated in one of the episodes that I did of the value for value was the concept of free is never free, or free isn't free. Maybe never is too strong a word. Free isn't free. And he was essentially saying, you know, in the podcasting world, if you're not directly contributing to a podcast, so i.e. the No Agenda or the Mere Mortals show, you're probably going to be paying in some other way, and it's not necessarily going to be a way that you might like. So one way is for us to put advertising in. Another way is for us to put a paywall, or you have to, contribute this amount per month to access it. Or another way is we could be selling your data. So we could be creating an email marketing list. We could be, creating a community or something, and then you join there, and then we're shilling our products and other stuff like that.
And let's be real, it's not like we're going to be doing that, but there's companies through the fact that you're listening to this are going to be doing that regardless. Like, if you're on Spotify, that's happening. Like, Spotify is using that data. If it's a whole, if you're not paying for the product, you're probably the product.
And so, there's actually another little note here, which was apparently there are some places where if you type in Mere Mortals, it can be like, hey, come check out the Mere Mortals on Amazon Music. Just an example, not saying they're doing this to us, for only $7 a month or something. Even though we're free everywhere else, or you can access us everywhere else.
They're monetizing it.
Things like that. And if you ever come across a podcast with an advertisement in it that like cuts us off midway, because there are places that can do that. They can just dynamically insert an ad into it if they want to. That's fucked up. You let me know, and I'm gonna try and get the show off. Like you can get asked to get your shows off things like that. So just a little side note there. But
imagine if it was like Fountain FM or something like that. It was like
something we've talked about like 50 times. Shoot. Good. Well, that's what happens in the world. Hey, you just do things. The Hosky stuff, even though they were saying it's a rug pull the whole time, it really didn't even cross my mind that they would properly just rug pull until I saw some people being like, they've done it, like their NFT's not going to actually come through at all and things like that. And I was like, maybe it is. So I want to start off with maybe something psychological. And this is maybe some points where it's arguing for, yes, free isn't free, and this is why. Okay. And so one of them is psychological. So we hate owing others, and we'll even sometimes go to great lengths to even the score, I guess, in a way.
Like clear debt or something like that?
Yeah, so if you're a person and let's just say you're given a a loan from, or like a charity thing from someone else, it can sometimes like create guilt in a way, and you're like, oh, like now I owe that person, and it can even cause resentment. It can make you want to even the score. You could go out of your way to do things. So I would say not everyone, but in certain cases, certain people, there is something psychological about, you know, this person gave me 50 million Hosky. I kind of feel not guilty about it, but I'm sort of like, I want to even the score away.
Yeah.
What's a way I could do that? Oh, it's by giving away some Hosky, some things like that. So I would say that even in our psychology, there's a weird mix between us wanting to get as much free stuff, because that's just, you know, part of evolution. I want to get food, the best food I can, and if I don't need to expend energy to do that, evolutionarily, that's better for me.
Yeah.
So there's something in our genes that wants any opportunity. I've talked about the other day when I saw that Cardano thing, and it was like, Charles Hoskin, if you send in something, Bitcoin or Ethereum or Cardano, we'll send $2, we'll double it. And send it back.
Oh my God.
And immediately something in my brain is saying, man, oh my God, I should do this.
Yep.
So there's that part of us, but I think there's the dichotomy. One loves the dichotomies, where another part of us will be recognizing of something coming in and wanting to even the score with that, you know, trading with someone else, because you know that's how it works in the real world. If you're a good trader, if you honor your commitments, you'll get more opportunities to trade more and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think there's a weird balance between the two.
I think it's a weird balance, but I would challenge that statement and say that it doesn't happen for normal society or most humans or most mere mortals until a certain threshold gets met. Because I don't think you do that if someone gives you an apple. So let's just say you're walking on the street and this guy's got like a bag of apples, like lots and lots of apples, and they say, hey, would you like an apple for free? And let's just say you'll have a hungering for an apple, and you say, sure, I'll have an apple. At least me, I don't think that I would feel inclined that I have to give back to somewhere else.
I don't imagine kids feel this as much either. I would imagine it's more with adults who have learned about trading and maybe just had enough life experience to realize that.
Yeah, so I think that there's places where... So here's the example of that apple. There are places when a free apple isn't free, and there are times when a free apple is truly free. So in that example, to me, I would say that is a free apple. Like, there isn't any attachments that you feel like you have to give back to somebody else. You don't have to give back to that individual. You don't have to give back to whatever. It sounds to me, in old concept, free. However, then take the example that you can have a free apple from Woolworths. Like kids, right? So here in Woolies, so it's an Australian sort of supermarket branch, and you know, you'll go to there and they'll be offering normally apples and other fruits for kids that they can have as they're walking around the shop. Now, it's a free apple by all technical terms, and I'm sure it's for kids. Anybody could take it. But the bit there that it's not free is that you're then, whether it's your energy or your time, you're there at a Woolworths, potentially incentivized by that, potentially not. Potentially you're just there to do it anyway, so you pick
like
one
a
up.
Lucky thing, yeah.
But it kind of, in some way, might be suggesting to you to go there to go get that free apple. And then while you're there, you then end up shopping for something else, right? So there are some benefits for Woolworths or a supermarket to do that. So that is a place where an apple then might not be free is free. That's how it would be it's not always free. But I would say there can be occasions where there'll be small enough levels of things that could be free, which would be just feel free until the threshold gets hit. So I think when you start talking about financial things or financial, whether it's currency or an asset, there, I think as soon as you get over a little threshold, already you're like, oh, okay, I want to give back. So if someone buys you an ice cream, you'll be like, oh, thanks so much for that. But yeah, you do feel a little bit like, oh, okay, next time I'll get them an ice cream.
Yeah.
Or next time, whatever. Not that even though an apple might be similar price, it just doesn't convey the same feeling I would say from that.
Yeah. Here's some other examples, and there's two. One is tangible and one's not tangible. So I think having a physical product as well can make it a bit different. So let's just say I hold the door open for a girl on a date. Now, is she thinking while I'm doing that, I'm gonna have to pay for this later?
Yep.
You know, is this gesture on his part truly free?
Yeah, it's truly
or is
free,
it-
or like a build up to something else.
Yeah, is this you know, is there ulterior motives? You know, probably I want to sleep with her. That's why I'm doing it. There's definitely some places in the world where it's part of the culture to just do it for everyone, but in Australia that's not so much here. Now, another one though is you're in a bar and someone buys you a drink. A lot of the times you would then feel somewhat obligated to
return the
favor. Now, not all situations, of course. If you're just there and a random guy's like, everyone gets a drink, you know, slaps down a bunch of money, you know, not as much then. You're sort of lost in the safety of the crowd in a way because it's diluted. So I would say the directness of it and the tangibility of it. So if someone gives me a, you know, motor generator because my power goes out and they directly give it to me and they're just like, oh, I was just laying around the house, here you have this thing.
Yeah.
I would feel pretty obligated in that case to return something. Now, what it would be, maybe it's a dinner and invite them over. Maybe I mow their lawn. Maybe it's whatever. But in that case, even though it appears free, there's an underlying, and this is maybe what I was talking about, the psychological desire to even the score, or at least try and make it better.
Well, let's get deeper because
We like deep here.
We're talking with deep conversations. We're talking now about, we're getting to thresholds, and we're talking, well, what is free and what is not free. And I think ultimately, it's bubbling in my mind right now, free will be free as long as your mind or your mental process dictate that it is free. Because in that same example, there could be some mere mortal who's listening to us and be like, no, that I would consider that free. Like, I wouldn't go and respond or have to reciprocate or anything like that. I feel obliged to do so. I think that free can be free in places where some people might not think it's free, where some people might think it is free. So let's say you listen to our podcast on Spotify or YouTube. Now, that might seem pretty free from an initial perspective. Yes, sure, the companies take data of you as an individual who is listening to the podcast and on-sell it elsewhere to make money from us, basically, in that process. So is it really free? I think some people could make an argument being like, yeah, that's free, because, again, it's not taking anything away from that individual listener. They're not having to pay anything. Sure, the data's getting shared, but they don't give a shit. It's like, well, whatever, that's free to me. So that's free is free. Others could term it and say, oh, no, actually, it isn't, because you are using my data and I don't want you to go and do that. But I think the true level there is, it's what you end up considering what free is and where you lie sort of on that spectrum. Is it good to be in either spectrum? I don't know. I don't know if that has any negative sides. Like, if you very, very opposed to, like, no, free is never free because of X, Y, Z. Maybe that might be a worse thing.
There's some cons. I've written a couple.
Yeah. So if you've got a couple of cons,
yeah. So one would be, if you're saying a hard line, free is never free, you will start to judge every interaction by that, I feel. Or you would be like, why did this person do that? What is their motive? And I think the thing is, if you keep doing that, you will not believe in altruism. I don't see how those two beliefs
coincide with each other.
Can coexist. And if that's the case, then you're not necessarily going to be mean or negative or dispirited, but I would say an element of that could creep in. So if I'm thinking every time, oh, Juan carried this bag for me, what's in it for him? Or this person said that nice compliment about me, why did they do that? And I'm always trying to look at the motives behind them. I might start to just get sick of humanity and be like, everyone's out for themselves.
Yeah.
No one's doing anything nice. You know, everyone's just trying to get ahead, and they're probably trying to get ahead at the detriment of me, which would be false thinking, because that would assume it's a zero-sum game, but not most things aren't zero-sum games. Most things are, if you cooperate, everything gets better. So, but that's one thing where I could sort of say, if you analyze every action, if everything isn't free, then you're going to be counting the costs all the time, and that's just fucking boring, man.
Yeah.
If you're constantly being like, oh, this how does this cost me? What's this cost me? What's this cost me? It's I personally would not want to live that way. I think that would be rather unfun.
Yeah, no, for sure. I lean more towards the thinking that you can have a lot of free things, and free things that can be valuable too. Like, you can get given, like we've talked about previously in other podcasts, you can get given a free million hosky, let's say, which is free for all intents and purposes because it's literally got $0 value, but it has value because then it includes you into a community and it involves you into a conversation with people. And you could make challenges and calls around, well, no, it isn't then free because now you're exposing your information for this and that. And I would disagree with that. I would say that line of thinking would be corrupt in some ways, because you'd have to draw a boundary of where that this piece is like that in itself encapsulated is free, and then when now you're talking about is bringing other pieces of the puzzle into it to say that it's not free, and I'm like, nah, you can't. Like, that singled out, draw a circle around it, no, that's free, and you've given it, and it could have value to it.
Yeah. Here's another one. I don't even think it's technically possible, because that would assume that everyone's counting and values are the same. So we've all heard the saying, one man's trash is another man's treasure. So in that case, my giving away something, and this is the non-zero sum game part, is my giving away of the shitty-ass generator that's been sitting in my garage for ages, maybe slightly leaking oil, or maybe it's just an eyesore and it's like heavy as shit, I don't want to move it, and then, oh man, perfect opportunity for me to get rid of it and give it to you. That helps me. I am getting something for it, and maybe then I should be like, oh, I should do you a favor because you're taking away the shitty generator from me. But then vice versa, you're like, man, I just got this free generator. How awesome is that?
Yeah, both parties coming out being like, oh yes, like there's a free transaction here, but both are getting value.
Yeah, both are getting something for nothing. In essence, I'm getting someone to take away this generator, I don't want it, and then this other person's, oh sweet, I'm getting a free generator. So in that case, I would say, and this is probably like one of the best arguments for why you shouldn't say free is never free, because just when people have different values, and we all do, some things are going to be priced differently, and you can put it in monetary terms, you can put it in terms of happiness levels or emotions.
I was just about to say, let's move away and go even more philosophical. Let's move away from the idea of free as in like currency, or free in monetary value. Is it free, and free truly being free, to be happy? If someone asked me that, I think I'd say it is free. You are free to be as happy as you choose to be, because whether you want to look at it in the view of chemically wise, I guess you as your body is producing its own chemicals. Maybe if someone's like, putting chemicals into your body and affecting how happy you are, okay, maybe you can make that claim. But I think broadly, the ability for you to be free to be happy out of your own means, you're free to do that in whatever context that you place yourself in. So I would lean towards, if you start thinking about like emotional things, it is you who is free, truly free, to be able to do that without, again, having to draw a circle around a bigger field. So is it free for you to be happy? Yes. But then it's like, is it free for you to be happy if you're surrounded by like 10 people who are punching you and shouting at you and whatnot? Well,
a normal everyday occurrence for one.
But it's like, you've now made that circle a little bit bigger. So then it starts to get murky. As a freedom, well, you could be like, well, no, you can't be free because they're taking away the freedom by imposing, etc., etc., etc. But still, if you just look at it like that particular human just sitting on their own, I'll be like, yeah, that is free, and it's truly free. There's nothing taking you away to do that.
Yeah. Interesting. Let's get into some real world examples. What's the freest thing that you've ever got, or the most valuable thing you've ever gotten for free? The
most valuable thing that I've gotten for free.
So I'll put this in.
Here's one straight off the top of my mind, just like things that come straight to mind. Obviously, owning VFriends, they do free PLP drops, which is a partnership program. I can't remember what the L stands for.
Okay, yeah.
But
which you didn't know about when you bought it.
I didn't know about when I purchased VFriends, but then they sort of started coming out.
Yeah.
And I have received 3 different PLPs from that launch program, basically. So I've been giving them like they've been airdropped for free into my wallet without me doing absolutely anything. So no gas fees.
This is how you get around Peter's advice of friends never let friends buy NFTs.
Yeah. Just get given for free.
Friends let friends get NFTs.
Free
given
NFTs.
For free,
Yeah. So those are probably the most valuable as of late that I've gotten, as in like totally free. I'm not even asking for them. They're just getting dropped into my account, and they've got actual, financial means to them. But even beyond that, similarly to Hoskies, some of these things also allow me to go into private communities where you can only interact with these particular NFTs. So I'm being given things in a financial basis. I'm getting things from a community perspective, from people perspective that I interact with. So that's probably the freest things I've gotten recently that have got quite a bit of value.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So some thoughts for me were a bunch of the stuff in our house. So when we first got the shared apartment together, right on COVID as it was happening actually, was we just needed some furniture. And so I went on Gumtree, which is an Australian version of like Facebook Marketplace, I guess.
Sure, yep.
And there was people, once again, like almost literally what I was saying, they were giving away tables and chairs. The sofa that we have, we've got that for free. There's a bunch of chairs sitting in our outdoor area, which we sometimes use.
Now look, they're not schmick people. These are not schmick furniture, but they're what we need. They're fine for what we need.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's more like I would have paid for them if they'd asked for money. I 100% would have paid for them, but no, they were just like, hey, just take this stuff. You just have to come around with the trailer. I can do that. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's some. When I think about some of the things my dad and my mom, my family have done for me, it kind of feels free because they didn't have to do certain things for me. Like, if we go on vacations, I don't have to pay for flights or anything. Dad gets that sorted. So you could say things like that.
Yep.
Family ones for sure. And then probably the biggest for me was the scholarship I got when I was in university.
Yep.
No attachments to it. It was from Rio Tinto, and it was for it was 30 grand over 3 years, which was like a shit ton of money, of money now, and it's definitely a shit ton of money when I was a uni student. And no attachments. I didn't have to work for Rio or anything like that. But I still felt that was one of those compelled, obligated in a way to
go and work for Rio.
Go and work for Rio, and I worked for them, funnily enough, for 3 years. So that was definitely me.
That's you paying your dues.
Paying my dues in a way. So
the other thing though is, we're talking financial. I just want to get away from that for another practical example. I think some of the most valuable things that I have gained over the last couple of years that are theoretically free. Now, I'm gonna preface with the fact that yes, you do have to travel and pay money for that travel, but the ability to experience new cultures is generally free. So like that experience is generally a free one, and I guess it only needs you to go and interact with another human from different cultures. So even if you can't travel, like here in South Bank, right, you could go and interact with so many different cultures.
There were some Greek ladies just ahead of us as we were walking in.
Exactly.
We could have
had conversations. Exactly.
Them.
So I think some of the most valuable things I've also obtained that are free have been conversations with different cultures or different individuals and different viewpoints. I think that over the years has been, I would consider pretty free. I mean, if you want to get really technical and be like, well, that's energy expenditure that you're doing in time, whatever. No,
that seems to me useless. That going down that far the route
at that point, then we'll just get to anything. Like anything, then is energy expenditure, so it's not free.
Everything costs everything, and so etc. Yeah.
So no. So, but I would say for me, so that's an example of non-monetary value. It's like, that's valuable. There's lots of value in just interacting with different cultures and viewpoints and whatnot to at least, whether it's particularly to challenge oneself, maybe, but just maybe understand different viewpoints and having that view. Yep.
Yeah. So something for nothing, I guess. Let's cap this off. How much of that do you view in your everyday life? How much do you think free isn't free, or how much do you think, yes, I can get lots of somethings for nothings?
I think about it from a day-to-day practice as, I can get a lot of something for nothing. I do think about it that way. Like even, so when I consume content at the moment, it's very much, I like to watch a video clip on YouTube or listen to something on Spotify, and I'm getting something for nothing. I don't consider that to be people are taking my data, so I'm totally fine with it. So it's like, that's fine. So it's something for nothing. And I would probably lend myself towards not selectively having to go and do things that are something for nothing, for me doing nothing. But I'm not opposed to that being a thing that happens and being like, oh, you know, it would have been better if I actually paid for like a better experience. I kind of like, I'm satisfied with the freemium model to be okay, as opposed to like having to go on the premium model.
Yeah, okay.
I would say it. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I would probably say for the most part I don't. And that probably is more to me choosing to be optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have say I'm naturally an optimistic person, but I sort of choose to be because it's just a more fun way to live. And that also ties into me wanting to believe people are more altruistic than they are the opposite sense. Like human nature
What's the opposite of altruistic?
I don't know. Shift. Truistic. Caps lock. Truistic. I'm not sure. Yeah, type that in and find that out.
Yeah.
Greedy maybe or something. So for the most part I think no, people are nice, people do things, and so if I'm interacting with people and things happen, I don't generally try and look beneath the surface to see what ulterior motives they have. I usually trust them to tell me what they are, or just implicitly, or if it's sort of autonomized and it's something related to Facebook and data, just try and keep that in mind. So if it's not super transparent of how I'm paying for something, then I might be...
You might question.
I might be like, this actually is costing, and it could be costing me big in terms of... because it's okay if it's like an even trade and I don't realize it, but if it's costing me big time in the back end, then how much really, if I looked at it, how much is my data worth that Facebook has gotten out of me and Instagram over the years? How much exactly? And if it turns out to have been thousands of dollars worth, then I might be like, that's it's not necessarily something I could have
stopped,
gotten. Yeah. It's not like if I'd just not used Instagram, I would have gotten thousands of dollars. But there's a sliding scale of me being like, something's up here.
Yeah. Okay. And I found the close I could get is misanthropic.
Misanthropic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I don't know exactly what the definition of misanthropic is, but basically it's like selfish, egotistic. I think there was the other one. Yeah. Antonyms are selfish, egoistic, or misanthropic.
Okay. Sounds good.
There you go.
Thank you, Wani. Very helpful. All right. Any more points on your point? On your end?
The only one, and we'll use this to finish off, would be how people view listening to our podcast, and if we're saying, is free always truly free? How would you play that back to listeners at home when we're saying to them, hey, you should go and use value for value enabled platforms where you do stream as Satoshis or you do send us something, rather than listening to what maybe you consider free? Like, what's the ask there, or how would you satisfy a question from a mere mortal light out there being like, why would I do that? Yeah. Why would I go do that? Well, if I'm getting it for free right now.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Free right now. So I would say one is when I was chatting with Adam, I was like, he was saying most people, the thing they struggle most with when they're hearing value for value or start trying to do it is the asking part, because they don't like doing that. It's not a natural thing to be asking random people who you've never met for something in return for what they are currently getting for nothing, because you sort of need to provide the upfront value. It's not like, hey, I'm starting a podcast, fund me. No, it's the opposite way. You start a podcast and then you can get funded.
Yep.
So in that case, I would say this is one of those ones where transparency kind of helps. If you're not seeing how you're paying for the podcast, it could be stuff hidden behind the scenes, i.e. You're getting, stuff right in front of your face, ad-wise, or the paywall, or it could be like a hidden mechanism deeper within of, we're subtly talking about, what if some stuff we talked about Woolworths today, maybe subtly we're getting paid by Woolworths, things like that.
Thanks Woolworths, by the way, for all that money.
Yeah. Cheers. I'm going to spend it on Hosky NFTs. So I would just say, at least, with us, it's it's also a threat in a way. Yeah, you're getting it for free, but for how long? Because we can't do, I can't do this for the rest of my life and never get anything out of it in terms of appreciation. So once again, value doesn't have to be in monetary terms. It can be in other ways. You can help out with artwork. You could help out with creating a search engine. You could help out with sharing the podcast, all of these things. But then there is the component of money. It does cost to host. It does cost to replace cameras when these ones break, to buy these in the first place, the microphones, fuel for driving to and from here and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I would just say in that case, you could get it for free, but for how long?
True.
Because it won't always be free, and the support is appreciated.
That's true.
And that's basically our spiel.
Our spiel.
I don't think we need to do a value for value portion. So
no, very good. I think I sold them on that.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for joining. If you really want to know, the best place would be to send boostergrams through. So this is using the technology of the blockchain of Bitcoin to send us a message and to stream Satoshis through to our podcast as you're listening to it. Go to a value-enabled podcast on newpodcastapps.com. And a couple of suggestions: Podfriend, Fountain FM, Breeze. Those are good ones. Other than that, I do hope you're having a fantastic day in the world. And Juan, can you take us out, please?
Immortalized. Thank you very much. Juan out.
Free.